What if I told you that during the next crisis, while everyone's fighting over empty rice and pasta shelves, you could calmly walk past the chaos with a fully stocked pantry nobody else even thought to raid? The truth is, 90% of preppers are making the same critical mistake, and it could cost them everything. In this video, I'm revealing 10 overlooked survival foods that seasoned preppers quietly stockpile while everyone else follows the same tired advice. These aren't your typical prepping staples. They last longer, pack more nutrition, and most importantly, they'll still be sitting on store shelves when traditional survival foods are long gone. Stick around until the end because I'll show you exactly how to store these foods for decades and turn them into meals your family will actually want to eat. Welcome to Food Decider, where we cut through the noise and give you practical, real-world food strategies that actually work. If you're ready to stop following the crowd and start prepping smarter, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss our game-changing content. Now, let's dive into these hidden survival gems. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why does mainstream prepping advice keep failing people when it matters most? Walk into any prepping forum or watch the most popular survival channels and you'll hear the same predictable playbook over and over again. Stock up on rice, beans, canned meat, and freeze-dried meals. Buy those emergency food buckets that promise 30 years of shelf life. Fill your pantry with the exact same items everyone else is buying. Here's the problem with that approach. During the supply chain disruptions of 2020, these staple foods vanished within hours. And I mean hours. People who thought they were being smart by following expert advice found themselves competing with millions of others who had consumed the exact same content and made identical purchasing decisions. The prepping community, ironically, created its own vulnerability by thinking alike. The solution isn't to abandon basics entirely, it's to build your stockpile around foods that others overlook, foods that require a bit more knowledge to use effectively, foods that outlast, outperform, and outvalue the typical prepping favorites. That's exactly what we're going to explore today, starting with an energy source that most people have never even considered. Let me introduce you to duck fat. Yes, you heard that right, duck fat. This is a survival powerhouse that rarely gets mentioned in prepping circles, and that's precisely why it's so valuable. At 120 calories per tablespoon, duck fat is pure, shelf-stable energy, and when your body is burning through calories due to stress, physical demands, and the uncertainty of a crisis situation, concentrated energy becomes absolutely critical. Here's what makes duck fat special for long-term storage. Animal fats, especially duck fat, resist rancidity far longer than vegetable oils when stored properly in a cool, dark place. With airtight glass jars, you can expect years of stability. We're talking 5 years or more without any degradation in quality. Compare that to most vegetable oils, which start breaking down and going rancid within a year or two, even unopened. But duck fat isn't just about storage longevity, it's incredibly versatile. You can use it as a cooking medium, sure, but it's also a calorie-dense survival food that can elevate the most basic grain dishes. Imagine cooking your rice or wheat berries in duck fat instead of water. Suddenly, you've transformed a bland survival meal into something with depth, flavor, and significantly more calories. When you're rationing food and trying to maintain energy levels, that matters enormously. The best part? While everyone else is grabbing cooking oils that will go bad quickly, duck fat sits quietly on specialty store shelves, waiting for informed preppers who know its true value. You can find it at better grocery stores, butcher shops, or order it in bulk online. Store it in mason jars in your pantry, and you've got a robust, efficient fat source that will serve you for years. Now let's talk about cream of tartar. Most people know this as a baking ingredient, something you might use once or twice a year for specific recipes. But its survival applications extend far beyond the occasional meringue or snickerdoodle cookie. When kept dry and in sealed containers, cream of tartar lasts indefinitely. We're not talking 5 years or 10 years, we're talking decades without losing potency. Compare that to yeast, which most preppers stockpile for bread making. Commercial yeast loses potency within months, even when refrigerated. Within a year or two, it's essentially useless. Here's where cream of tartar becomes a game changer. It activates baking soda to form baking powder on demand. In an emergency situation where you don't have access to commercial yeast, commercial baking powder, or even buttermilk, you can still make bread and biscuits rise using cream of tartar and baking soda. This is absolutely crucial for scratch cooking with limited resources. The ratio is simple. Mix 2 parts cream of tartar with 1 part baking soda and you've created baking powder. Add this to your flour-based recipes, and you'll get perfectly risen baked goods without any need for yeast or waiting for dough to proof. When time, fuel, and ingredients are all precious during a crisis, that efficiency matters enormously. For storage, buy bulk containers from restaurant supply outlets or online vendors. You'll get the best value this way, and a single large container can last a family for years. Just keep it in an airtight container in a dry location, and it will retain its chemical power indefinitely. While everyone else is struggling with dead yeast and flat bread, you'll be baking fresh biscuits with ingredients that never expire. Let's move on to something that most people completely overlook in their prepping strategy: unflavored.
This is pure protein, 6 grams per tablespoon, and it packs unique amino acids that are essential for joint health, gut support, and skin integrity. Here's why this matters for survival nutrition. Stored foods often lack variety, especially protein variety. You might have rice and beans covered, but over weeks and months of eating the same limited diet, micronutrient deficiencies start adding up. Your joints might ache more, your digestion might suffer, your skin might become dry and unhealthy. These aren't just comfort issues, they're health issues that can compromise your physical resilience during the demanding conditions of a crisis. Gelatin bridges that gap. It provides collagen-based protein that's completely different from what you get from beans or grains. This diversity in protein sources helps maintain overall health when living off a limited diet for extended periods. The shelf life is impressive too. Kept dry and sealed, gelatin powder lasts 3 to 5 years minimum, and often longer. It's inexpensive, requires absolutely no refrigeration, and takes up minimal space in your pantry. A few containers of gelatin powder can supplement your family's nutrition for years. In terms of practical use, you can add unflavored gelatin to almost anything. Mix it into soups and stews to boost protein content, add it to rice while cooking for extra nutrition. Use it to make simple jellies or desserts that provide comfort during stressful times. You can even mix it into hot drinks. The key is that it's flavorless and dissolves easily, so it integrates into your existing meals without changing the taste or requiring complicated preparation. During extended crisis situations, maintaining health isn't just about calories. It's about the building blocks your body needs to repair itself, maintain energy, and stay resilient. Gelatin provides those building blocks in a shelf-stable, affordable form that most preppers never think to stockpile. Now we're getting to the heavy hitters, starting with dried chickpeas. These offer unmatched storage life. We're talking 20 to 30 years when stored properly, combined with exceptional nutrition. This is a staple that absolutely should be in every serious prepper's stockpile. Here's the first mistake most people make. They buy small bags from regular supermarkets. That's expensive and inefficient. Instead, go to Middle Eastern or Indian grocery stores and buy 20 to 50-pound sacks. The price difference is dramatic. You'll pay a fraction of what you'd spend at a mainstream grocery store. Then store them in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers, and you've just secured decades of protein, fiber, iron, and folate. The versatility of chickpeas is remarkable. You can cook them whole and eat them like any bean. You can mash them into hummus or curry. You can roast them for crunchy snacks. You can grind them into flour for flatbreads. Chickpea flour, or gram flour, has been a staple in Indian cuisine for thousands of years. And you can even sprout them for fresh greens when vegetables are scarce. There was an extended 45-day stockpile challenge where a family lived entirely off their stored foods. The feedback was clear. Chickpeas were the MVP. They kept meals interesting through all these different forms of preparation. When you're eating from your stockpile for weeks on end, that variety isn't just nice to have, it's essential for morale and for actually getting family members to eat the food. Think about it this way: rice and beans are fine for a few days, but after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you need variety. Chickpeas give you that variety in a single ingredient. One day they're in a curry, the next day they're roasted as a snack, the following day they're ground into flour for flatbread. This is survival food that doesn't feel like punishment. And here's the crisis advantage. During shortages, dried chickpeas in bulk bins often sit untouched while canned chickpeas disappear. Most people don't know how to cook dried legumes from scratch, so they skip right past them. That's your window of opportunity to stock up while everyone else fights over the ready-to-eat options. Next up is vinegar, and I'm not just talking about one bottle for salad dressing. Vinegar is an essential survival tool with applications that go far beyond food. First, the shelf life. Vinegar's acidity prevents any spoilage whatsoever. It lasts indefinitely. You can buy vinegar today, and your grandchildren could use it 70 years from now. That's not an exaggeration. Vinegar doesn't go bad. But here's where strategy comes in. Variety matters. Don't just stock white vinegar. Get white vinegar for cleaning and preserving, yes, but also get apple cider vinegar for cooking and health applications. Stock balsamic for flavor enhancement. Grab red wine vinegar and rice vinegar. Each serves unique culinary purposes. The beauty of specialty vinegars is that they remain available even during shortages because most people don't think to stockpile them. Let's talk about practical survival applications. You can pickle vegetables to extend their shelf life dramatically. You can preserve eggs in a water and lime solution that requires vinegar. You can make dressings and sauces that transform bland survival meals into something enjoyable. You can clean surfaces and disinfect minor wounds. And perhaps most importantly, you can improve morale with flavorful condiments. Food fatigue is a real psychological phenomenon during crises. When you're eating the same basic foods day after day, your appetite decreases even when you need the calories. Vinegar-based sauces, pickled vegetables, and tangy dressings combat that fatigue by adding variety and brightness to meals. This isn't about luxury, it's about maintaining the will to eat and stay nourished during extended emergencies. Storage is simple. Keep bottles in their original containers in a cool, dark place. A closet or pantry.
Stock up on multiple types and multiple bottles, and you've got years of utility for just a few dollars. Now, let's talk about dried mushrooms, the ultimate umami and nutrient source that transforms basic meals from survivable to actually enjoyable. Dried mushrooms provide B vitamins, vitamin D, which is often lacking in stored foods, selenium for immune function, and potassium for electrolyte balance. But beyond nutrition, they provide umami, that deep, savory, meaty flavor that makes food satisfying. When animal protein is scarce or you're stretching your meat supplies, dried mushrooms trick your palate into feeling like you're eating something substantial. Variety is key here. Don't just stock one type. Get shiitake for their robust, smoky flavor. Get porcini for their intense earthiness. Get wood ear mushrooms for their unique texture in soups. Get oyster mushrooms for their delicate taste. Each variety offers different flavor profiles and textures, which means more variety in your meals. The shelf life is 5 to 10 years when stored in airtight containers away from light and moisture. And here's something most people don't realize. Dried mushrooms are incredibly space efficient. 1 pound of dried mushrooms expands to about 8 pounds when rehydrated. That's 8 times the volume for storage purposes. You can fit enormous amounts of nutrition and flavor into a small pantry space. For purchasing, Asian markets are your best bet. You'll find bulk quantities at prices that make Western grocery stores look ridiculous. A pound of dried shiitake that might cost $30 at a regular supermarket can cost $8 at an Asian market. Stock up there and you're getting premium survival food at budget prices. When you use dried mushrooms, here's a pro tip. Save the soaking liquid. That liquid is packed with flavor and nutrients. Use it as a base for soups, cook your grains in it, or reduce it down for a concentrated sauce. Nothing goes to waste, and every drop adds value to your meals. Imagine this scenario. You're 3 weeks into eating stored rice and canned vegetables. Morale is low. Food is boring. Then you rehydrate some shiitake mushrooms, cook them with your rice, and suddenly you've got a meal that tastes complex, satisfying, and almost restaurant-like. That psychological boost is worth its weight in gold during extended crises. Let's move into the comfort food category with Miso Paste, a fermented soybean staple that's alive with gut-friendly bacteria and immune-supporting nutrients. Miso paste is one of the smartest survival foods you can stockpile because it combines nutrition, flavor, and genuine health benefits. The fermentation process creates beneficial probiotics that support digestion and immune function. During stressful periods when your body is under strain, maintaining gut health becomes crucial for overall well-being. For storage, miso lasts years when kept in sealed containers in the refrigerator. But here's something many people don't know. It can last months even at room temperature thanks to its high salt content and fermentation. Obviously, refrigeration is ideal, but if you lose power, miso won't spoil immediately like most foods would. The versatility is remarkable. Everyone knows miso soup, but miso can do so much more. Use it for glazes on vegetables or proteins. Make marinades that add depth to simple ingredients. Create dressings that transform basic salads. Stir it into grains for instant flavor. Mix it into stews for umami richness. Miso provides protein, B vitamins, minerals like zinc and manganese, and those crucial probiotics all in one fermented package. But let's talk about the psychological component here, because this is often overlooked in prepping advice. A warm bowl of miso soup is comforting on a deep, almost primal level. The savory, slightly sweet, umami-rich flavor soothes nerves and provides a sense of normalcy. When everything else feels uncertain and stressful, that comfort matters enormously. Here's the strategic advantage. When regular soup bases and bouillon cubes vanish from store shelves during crises, miso paste sits quietly in the refrigerated section of Asian markets, largely ignored by people who don't know how to use it. You can walk in and stock up while everyone else is fighting over chicken broth. For smart stockpiling, keep several containers both in regular rotation in your kitchen and in deep storage. Use miso regularly in your daily cooking so your family is already familiar with the flavor. Then, when you need to rely on your stockpile, it's not a strange new food, it's something comforting and known. Next, we have nutritional yeast, a golden flaky powder that offers a rare plant-based source of B12 and other vitamins, along with a nutty, savory, cheesy flavor that most people find surprisingly addictive. In a scenario where meat and dairy become unavailable or severely limited, B vitamin deficiency is a genuine risk. B12 especially is difficult to obtain from plant sources. Nutritional yeast fills this gap naturally. It's fortified with B vitamins, including B12, and it provides them in a form your body can actually absorb and use. But the real magic of nutritional yeast is in the flavor. It tastes remarkably like cheese, nutty, savory, slightly tangy. You can sprinkle it on grains, vegetables, and popcorn. You can make cheese-like sauces without any dairy by blending nutritional yeast with water, cashews, or sunflower seeds and seasonings. This makes meals appealing and familiar even when you don't have access to real cheese. The shelf life is 2 to 3 years when stored in airtight containers in a cool, dry place. Some preppers report it lasting even longer, though the B vitamin potency may decrease slightly over time. Still, even at reduced potency, it's providing more B vitamins than almost any other shelf-stable plant food. Let's talk about the psychological effect here, because it's significant. Cheese flavors are deeply
They're associated with treats, with indulgence, with normalcy. When you're living off a limited stockpile and everything feels restrictive and difficult, being able to sprinkle something on your food that makes it taste like cheese, that prevents food fatigue, that keeps spirits high. That makes the difference between merely surviving and actually maintaining quality of life during extended emergencies. Nutritional yeast is affordable, widely available at health food stores and many regular supermarkets, and it's something most people overlook entirely. Stock up on several containers, rotate them through your regular cooking, and you'll have a B vitamin insurance policy plus a flavor enhancer that makes survival food actually enjoyable. Now we're getting to canned sardines, the forgotten protein and omega-3 source that most preppers completely miss. Everyone talks about canned tuna or canned salmon for prepping. Those are fine options, but they disappear fast during crises. Sardines, on the other hand, remain available because most people are either unfamiliar with them or actively avoid them. That unfamiliarity is your strategic advantage. Let's talk nutrition first. Sardines are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, the same healthy fats found in salmon. These are essential for brain health, reducing inflammation, and maintaining cardiovascular function. They're loaded with protein. They provide calcium and vitamin D. And here's something special. The bones in sardines are completely edible and soft. They're actually one of the best dietary sources of calcium you can find. The shelf life is 3 to 5 years minimum, often longer. Canned fish in oil tends to last longer than fish in water, and the cost is remarkably low. You can find quality sardines for $2 to $3 per can. That's cheaper per gram of protein than most alternatives, including the prepping favorites like freeze-dried meals. For practical use, integrate sardines into your regular rotation now. Put them on crackers, mix them into pasta, add them to salads, mix sardine spreads with mustard or hot sauce. Get your family accustomed to the flavor so it's not a weird crisis food. It's just food. Here's the crisis advantage I mentioned. During the 2020 shortages, tuna and salmon cans were wiped out within days. Sardines, they sat on shelves, largely untouched. People who knew grabbed them by the case while everyone else ignored them. That's the kind of strategic knowledge that separates preppers who thrive from those who merely survive. And finally, we come to the foundation of true food self-sufficiency, wheat berries. This is the prepping secret that underpins genuine long-term security. Whole wheat berries are wheat kernels in their complete unprocessed form. When stored properly in food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers, they last 25 to 30 years while maintaining full nutritional value and the ability to sprout. That's a generation of food security in a bucket. But longevity is just the start. Wheat berries are incredibly versatile. You can grind them into fresh flour for bread, and freshly ground flour from wheat berries offers vastly superior nutrition compared to store-bought flour that's been sitting on shelves for months. You can cook wheat berries whole as a grain, similar to rice or barley. You can sprout them for fresh greens when vegetables are unavailable. And if you have land, you can even plant them to grow more wheat. The investment required is minimal. You need food-grade buckets, oxygen absorbers, and a manual grain mill. The buckets and oxygen absorbers are cheap, available from any prepping supplier. A quality manual grain mill will last for decades with minimal maintenance. In terms of cost, wheat berries are astonishingly affordable, under $1 per pound in many cases. Think about that. For under $1, you can store thousands of calories that will remain viable for 30 decades. The cost per calorie is pennies on the dollar compared to freeze-dried meals or even rice. Now, here's the crisis reality that makes wheat berries invaluable. When flour, bread, and pasta disappear from store shelves, and they always do during crises, wheat berries sit untouched in bulk bins at health food stores, restaurant suppliers, and specialty shops. Most people don't know what to do with them. They don't own grain mills, they've never baked bread from scratch, so they walk right past this incredible resource. Those who know, they calmly fill their buckets and bypass the chaos entirely. They go home, grind fresh flour, and bake bread while their neighbors are fighting over the last bag of white flour. This is the essence of strategic prepping. Knowledge equals opportunity. When you know how to use wheat berries, you've got access to a food source that will feed your family for decades at a fraction of the cost of conventional prepping foods. Now, let's talk about the practical side of building and maintaining this smarter stockpile, because buying these foods is only half the equation. Storage tactics matter enormously. Use airtight containers, mason jars for smaller quantities, food-grade buckets with gamma seal lids for bulk storage, and mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum shelf life. The goal is to keep out moisture and oxygen, which are the primary enemies of food preservation. Location is critical too. Find a cool, dark place in your home, a basement, a closet, under beds, wherever you can maintain temperature stability and keep light exposure minimal. Temperature fluctuations and light both degrade food quality over time. Consistent coolness and darkness preserve your investment for years or decades. Bulk buying is where you get the best value. Shop at international markets for items like dried chickpeas, dried mushrooms, and miso. Visit restaurant suppliers for cream of tartar, gelatin, and wheat berries. Check specialty stores for duck fat.
You'll pay a fraction of retail prices and get fresher products with longer shelf lives. But here's the crucial part that many preppers neglect: rotation. Don't just buy these foods and forget about them in a closet. Integrate them into your regular diet. Cook with duck fat instead of vegetable oil. Make miso soup every week. Bake bread with freshly ground wheat berry flour. This serves two vital purposes. First, it ensures you're consuming and replacing foods before they reach the end of their shelf life. Second, it gets your family completely familiar with these ingredients, so they're not strange crisis foods. They're just the way you normally eat. And this brings us to real-world testing. Don't wait for disaster to strike before learning how to use your stockpile. Set aside weekends where you cook only with these stored foods. Test recipes, adapt to flavors and textures, figure out what works and what doesn't. Practice means comfort and confidence during actual emergencies. Imagine trying to cook with wheat berries for the first time during a crisis, when you're already stressed, supplies are uncertain, and your family is looking to you for stability. That's a recipe for disaster. But if you've been grinding wheat and baking bread every month for the past year, it's just routine. You're calm, confident, and capable. Finally, let's talk about psychological resilience, because this is where many preppers fail despite having adequate supplies. It's easy to focus only on calories and basic nutrition, but flavor, familiarity, and comfort are crucial for maintaining morale during extended crises. Bland, repetitive meals sap morale faster than almost anything else. Even when you're getting enough calories, if the food is boring and unpleasant, you'll find yourself and your family eating less, complaining more, and struggling psychologically with a situation that's already difficult. That's why items like vinegar, miso paste, nutritional yeast, and dried mushrooms are so valuable. They're not just nutrition, they're the difference between eating to survive and eating to maintain humanity. They transform basic grains and beans into meals that that have flavor, variety, and a sense of normalcy. Think about it from a practical standpoint. You can live on rice and beans. People do it all over the world. But after 2 weeks of plain rice and beans, morale crashes. Add some miso to make a savory broth. Stir in rehydrated mushrooms for umami depth. Drizzle a vinegar-based sauce for brightness. Top it with nutritional yeast for a cheese-like finish. Suddenly, that same rice and beans becomes a meal people actually want to eat. This is the difference between theoretical prepping and practical prepping. Theory says you just need calories and basic nutrients. Practice says you need food that maintains the will to eat, that brings comfort during stress, that keeps family members, especially children, willing to consume what you've stored. The driving philosophy behind all of this is simple. Don't follow the crowd. The difference between surviving and thriving during crises comes from strategic, independent thinking and experience-based decisions. When you build your stockpile with these overlooked foods, you sidestep shortages, save money, and invest in your long-term health and morale. Consider this your blueprint for resilience. If you want to stop worrying about what might happen and start preparing logically for what will happen, because supply chain disruptions are increasing in both frequency and intensity, add these items to your list. So here's what I want you to do next. Reflect honestly on your current stockpile. How many of these 10 foods do you already have? If the answer is 1 or 2 at best, you're not alone. Most preppers are in the same boat. But today, you can pivot. Start with an audit. Go through your pantry and evaluate what you have for shelf life, nutritional density, and whether it's something everyone else is also stockpiling. Be honest about vulnerabilities. Then make a shopping plan. This doesn't have to happen all at once. Visit an Asian market this weekend and grab dried mushrooms, miso paste, and bulk dried chickpeas. Next week, hit a health food store for wheat berries and nutritional yeast. The following week, find duck fat and cream of tartar. Build your stockpile methodically and affordably over time. Start experimenting with recipes. Don't wait for an emergency. Cook with these foods now. Make miso soup on Wednesday. Roast chickpeas for snacks on Friday. Grind wheat berries and bake bread on Saturday. Turn this into normal life, not crisis preparation. And share your discoveries with family and friends, not in a preachy way, but by inviting them over for meals that showcase these foods. When they taste how good fresh ground wheat bread is, or how satisfying miso soup can be, they'll understand without you having to convince them of anything. Independent, real-world experience beats mainstream prepping wisdom every single time. The next time a shortage strikes, and there will be a next time, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to Food Decider for more practical, no-nonsense food strategies that actually work in the real world. Drop a comment and let me know which of these 10 foods surprised you most, or which one you're planning to stockpile first. And if you want to dive deeper into food security, check out our other videos where we break down exactly how to store, prepare, and rotate these foods for maximum benefit. Remember, the best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Don't wait for the crisis to figure out what you should have done differently. Build your stockpile strategically, test it thoroughly, and sleep better knowing that whatever comes next, you and your family are truly prepared. Thanks for watching.